Hi, I'm Danny Rusteen. On my way up in the Airbnb short term rental space, I had no idea I could automate every single aspect of my business so that I could work only a few hours a day and earn enough to travel the world.
Welcome to On My Way Up. My name is Drew Crawford, and I'm the host. I'm here with my buddy Danny Rusteen, who is an Airbnb expert. He went from working at Airbnb to actually managing and automating his business from anywhere in the world. So today we're actually going to be talking to him about how he's done it, what kind of opportunities there are with starting your own Airbnb business, and we're excited to have Danny on. Thanks, buddy, for being here.
Yeah, man. Happy to spend some time on your rooftop.
Yeah, so we're actually in beautiful Medellin, Colombia right now. Danny actually travels around the world. You stay in an Airbnb like what? Every month of the year, you're in a different place, different Airbnb.
Yep. I change my city, which usually is my country as well, once a month.
And how did you end up getting started in the Airbnb business? Because you've been around doing it for a while now, right?
Yeah, for 2019, for 6 years.
For 6 years.
So we'll come back with me to December 2012. And I was an accountant at the time, and I quit my job without another job lined up. But I didn't like it, and I knew I would find something. I was in San Francisco. There's jobs out there. And my buddy told me about this company called Airbnb in the kitchen one day when I was cooking lunch. And as soon as he told me about them, I knew. I was like, oh, this is how I travel. I like to go down the cutty streets and talk with the locals. But I was staying at hostels and hotels because that was the thing back then. So that's how I got started. I applied. They actually said no. I applied again a few months later. They said yes.
Sure. So your introduction with Airbnb was a friend that told you about the business. Then you actually applied for them. But what was your position with the company when you were with them?
My position with the company was accounting. I was in the finance department, specifically on the accounting side. I forget my title.
It's been so long.
To be honest, I forget my title. Something accounting department.
And when was it when you finally launched your own first property to rent?
Well, it wasn't a first property. It was a couch in my living room.
Oh wow. Okay,
yeah.
So it was an extra space. It really was.
Yeah. Well, Airbnb got started from air mattresses, similar to a couch. So I started with a couch. That's all I had. 4 roommates in San Francisco, each paying $900 a month for rent. We decided to rent out our couch, and we made a ton of money. Made a bunch of friends. But it took me working at Airbnb to convince them because this was 2013 at the time, so it was very much like I told people I worked at Airbnb, and they're like,
wait, you let people strangers stay in your house, really?
Yeah. Maybe don't accept options at this company. Maybe just go for a wage.
Yeah.
And make sure you have something else lined up because I don't know how long they're going to survive. But I knew at the time, it would be a successful company. And actually, at the time, even in 2013, the company was still worth like in the billions. So it wasn't.
What is it now? It's like what, 50?
Well, on paper, it's 33.
Okay.
But I believe it's 4 times that amount.
Okay, yeah, we'll find out soon when it finally goes public, hopefully in the next year or so.
Yeah.
But so, all right, so you start renting your couch out. How are those first experiences as a host? Like, what did you learn during those first days when you're first getting started, like when you're first on the come up?
Yeah. So it was a couch. I learned a lot, even before doing what I do now, but I learned a lot. It morphed. So first I just had a pillow. I remember my first guest, I was like, shit, what should I do? I didn't provide sheets, but I provided a pillow. It morphed into providing one soft and one firm pillow. Mm-hmm. I provided blankets. I provided some snacks upon arrival. These all things came. I provided some shampoo and some conditioner. I provided a bottle of water. And then I did a shower towel, and then I did a hand towel and a face towel.
So just little by little, doing whatever you could. As long as you're producing income, you start reinvesting into your business, right? Did you think of it as a business when you were first starting, or was it just some way to make a little bit extra money?
In the beginning, it was a way to make extra money because it paid for weekly cleanings, it paid for utilities, and then it paid for a house dinner every now and then. When did you first pivot in your mind that okay, I can replace my income with this technically if I wanted to? When was that moment, and what triggered that? This was when Airbnb fired me. Is when I started thinking about.
It's always a good time.
Is when I started thinking about. They were nice. They gave me 2 weeks. They basically said you're fired in 2 weeks. So I said, okay.
Consider it.
And then this is when I had a crossroads. I was like, keep in mind I was an accountant, so I had the accounting mindset, which isn't the business mindset which I have now. So at that point I said, all right, I'll continue in accounting. I'm a CPA, it pays well. It's, society says it's a good job, or do something else. It turns out there was a promotion right before I got fired. There was a promotion, $500 I get, and the host gets however many hosts I can refer. So I did, out of the whole company, and this time more than 1,000 employees, a guy in the accounting department did better by 3 times than everyone else in the company.
Wow.
So this and through this, I met a local property manager who I started working for after Airbnb. So that was kind of like a sign from the heavens.
Okay, before we get too much ahead of ourselves, how that first property, did you do like an arbitrage where you're renting it for $1,000 and renting it on a monthly basis, for $3,000 per month? Or did you buy a property, or did you partner with somebody that already had inventory? Like, how did you get that first property? Because most people, that's what holds them up, is how do I get that first rental so I can actually start moving the wheels?
Yeah, there's a few aspects to the question. The first one is I joined an existing property management company when I first started, and how we got the properties. We had a website. It was a shitty website, and I redesigned totally it. Worked on the Yelp and everything. So this was an existing, but I would do the same thing if I had a new
social
company.
media, their website.
Started social media, but the main thing for her was the website, for sure.
Were you guys doing like SEO, like search engine optimization, like ranking for like keywords, or were you?
We didn't hire anyone, but we
in-house?
just built a really nice website.
And clients were coming in through that then?
Clients were coming in mostly through there, and referrals as well. And then, but then afterwards, I worked for them for about a year until I got fired again. And then I started my own property management company. And I did this for only about 6 weeks, but how I got my properties was I went on Craigslist and I was honest. I said, hey, I'm a prior employee. I'm an existing host here. I knew the things that hosts are hesitant about. And this is how I got my first properties. I went on Craigslist and did it that way. Also, some existing hosts who I worked with from my last company.
So it was an arbitrage though? Like, so you're renting out from them and then you're re-renting it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So renting from them, being honest with them, I think that's the best way, especially if you're going to furnish the place. And then paying them either, you can do a few ways. Either you can communicate, hey, I'm going to be a problem-free guest. And a lot of property owners, oh, that's good enough.
Pay your bills on time.
Yeah, I'll pay your bills on time. I'm going to clean it twice a week. Oh, and the people who are staying in your place, they're here on vacation, so they're not in your house. You actually have less wear and tear than if you rent it out long term and some loser sitting there 12 hours a day, looking for a job.
Yep.
So these are all the things I presented to them. I also had a website. I had because I was young at the time. I was 28 or something like that. I guess it's only 3 years ago. Younger at the time, but property managers at the time still are. They're older. They're 40.
They understand the marketing and the digital aspect of it.
Exactly. And so 28, I'm talking to these owners who are 50, 60 years old. So I presented myself very professionally. I had a little packet that I brought. Here's your projected revenue. Here's things to expect different from long-term rentals, etc.
I think that's actually a great point to make, is that somebody that's just starting out and you don't have the capital to buy your own property. You don't have the connections. Is go out there and you find these property managers that are a little bit older that maybe they'll understand this type of business, that have inventory. At the end of the day, all they really care about is a consistent paycheck, right? So somebody that can go out and do that and create that value, I think it's a great opportunity for first time Airbnb business.
The paycheck and liability was a big thing for them.
All right, so you had that first rental. You started, you were starting to get guests in. You're kind of learning the business little by little. You're generating some cash flow. What was that first sign of success? You're like, okay, like this is a real thing. Like I can actually make an entire business around Airbnb.
I knew that before. I knew that when I was an employee at Airbnb. I just knew how it worked, and I was a host as well. I always thought working from home was unproductive because you're working from home. But not until I went to work for this property management, I was doing business development, that I realized, oh no, working from home is super productive. It was being an accountant that made me unproductive.
Okay. Was that because you were enjoying it, or?
Yeah, I wasn't enjoying it. Like I could do anything, clean the house, do anything besides accounting. It just didn't stimulate me mentally. But this job did. The business development side stimulated me mentally. So I was like super productive at my house. And I put in hours too because I was scared shitless. I was an accountant, and then I went to this totally different company getting paid like less than half of what I was at Airbnb. And I wanted to succeed. So I was working a lot as well. But this is when I realized, I'm good at this. Like I know how to do the whole business. I can sell. I can get the laundromat. I can communicate with the guests. I can communicate with the host. I can optimize the listing. I can do all this, and it's fun, and I'm good at it. That's when I realized.
Awesome. And did you ever feel like that? Like you said, like friends and family kind of doubted you. Like they told you this was a stupid idea. Like especially, you got fired from 2 jobs. I mean, they like this guy. You got fired from 2 jobs. Now you're
most people only know I got fired from 1 job.
Okay, well now they know 2. But like at a certain point though, you had to everything wasn't working in from day one, right? Like it took time to go through, and like there was a learning curve, right? So what kind of helped you get over that learning curve to where you were you felt comfortable in what you were doing and what that the people around you were saying that you're doing something wrong? Like how did you get over that objection?
Well, I guess terror made me get over that because I was pushed into all this. So I was too stupid to realize, accounting's not for me. Like I worked in that industry for 3 or 4 or 5 years. Someone had to fire me for me to realize, okay, this isn't for me. So I got pushed into doing the business development. And then when I got fired again, I got pushed into starting the business myself. And that when your back's up against the wall, that's enough motivation to focus and make it work if you have that capability, which most people do.
And I think that's a good point for anyone now that's currently working an office job that they might not be excited about. They would be an accountant for a big company, right? But they're looking currently to do something else, and they're looking at Airbnb as an option to that. Is that right now, while you have that security and you're able to do that check, is start working on your Airbnb business. So someday if you ever get fired or if you want to quit, you'll have that income built up where you can replace it and not have that fear. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, and everyone always thinks it's better tomorrow, or there's always a lot of people are comfortable. They have a crappy job, but they know they have a crappy job, but they like the consistency. They get paid every 2 weeks. So your viewers have to realize, are they of that mindset? Which is, there's nothing wrong with it. You have a stable job. There's always going to be need for accountants. You're not going to be really stimulated mentally, but you always have a paycheck. Or do you know inside? I always knew inside that I had this entrepreneurial spirit. When I was a little kid, my first entrepreneurial experience was in my house. I set up on the coffee table just a bunch of random stuff that I had to sell. And I had no customers. It was in my house. Sure. But I felt good. I was like, I'm in business now.
This is my little stand of stuff.
Yeah. So I always felt inside there's more inside me than just to be an accountant. So I don't know. It's you're how do you know you're in love? Well, I don't know. How do you know you have that?
Sure.
I don't
feel
know.
It's intuition.
You
right?
know. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when before because now you have it automated, right? You've been in the Airbnb. When was the first time you started hosting? How long ago was that?
That was August 2013 was my first guest. So 6-year anniversary.
So 6 years already. So I mean, by now in Airbnb, that's like a veteran, right? I mean, the company's only been around for they founded in what year?
2007.
2007. Okay. I mean, if you started off, it's a long time.
They didn't catch on until 2012. They had a real true startup story.
Yeah. And there's actually some great podcasts. There's plenty of stories been told about the Airbnb story. I'll let them do the justice of that. But what I really want to focus now is some actionable items for somebody that wants to get brand new, that doesn't have an Airbnb property yet. Like I said, they might be in an accountant, they have a job, but they want to get started and they want to start building up this passive income. So what would be the first action step that they could take maybe today to get their first property?
Okay. Well, before that, I just wrote a 6-part blog post series about, and the first one is, should you be an Airbnb host? Are you okay with dealing? Do you have that mindset? Can you deal with cleaners? Mostly it's, do you have that entrepreneurial mindset? You're the accountant, you're the marketing team, you're the human resources team, you're the customer service team. Do you have that mindset? Do you want to do that? That's number one. Assuming you want to do that, and again, you post a link to the 6-part series.
I'll post it here below in the comments.
Yeah. the number one thing is do a little market research. Check out AirDNA. Go on Airbnb.com and check out what the scene looks like in your area, or go on Craigslist and whatnot, and just start. You can also go on. There's Facebook groups as well. Go on local Airbnb related Facebook groups for
so whatever cities that they're in, like
Yeah.
so Denver, New York,
Yeah.
or maybe not New York, but
No, New York. Oh, well, yeah. It depends on your laws. There's a website that tells you the laws, but if you live in the city, you should know the laws. Airbnbs, regardless of the laws, there's Airbnbs in every city, so they make it work somehow. Go on Airbnb Community Center, and just start getting familiar with everything Airbnb. But to get actually your first property, I just consulted with some guy on this. And what I told him to do was the same thing that I told me to do. Your first property is going to be your hardest, but go on these short-term rental sites who are going to rent otherwise long-term, and go short-term. Don't go. What you shouldn't do is go on Airbnb and message the host and say, "Hey, do you need help managing your property?"
Yeah.
I'll get messages like that every now and then, and cleaners
It's
as
a
well.
waste of
Hey, I'm
time.
a cleaner. Yeah, it's a waste of time.
But go where there's currently supply, but they're currently not on the platform yet. Bring them onto the platform and help them, basically rent their properties.
Yeah.
Is the way to go. I mean, the quickest, fastest way to go without being, jumping over all the hoops of buying. And
Yeah, find someone who already has it. What about also family members? There's got to be someone in your family that has a space.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a whole house or room as well that you can rent out.
No, that's great. That's a really great tip. So okay, so they've got their first property up. They partnered with somebody. They have their first rental. What is something that a first time host, a mistake that they often make, that you could help them maybe possibly avoid?
Oh boy. Okay, maybe it's this. A lot of people, when they do new listings, they ask me about should I have my friend book my place and give me a 5-star review. So if that's like your thought process, you probably should think twice about Airbnb, because that's a really short-term mindset. So I would say don't even think about that. You don't need to do that. If you're going to be the best host, like all my listings, yeah, if you're either you're in it to be the best host or not at all. So the biggest piece of advice, I guess what I'm saying is don't take shortcuts. Invest some time and a lot of time up front to learn the aspects. A big thing is optimizing listings. A lot of people, you'll see this block text. I mean, 99%, I look at a lot of listings, 99% have this block text. And if they don't have the block text, they read my blog. They have bullet points. And
Very
that's
clear.
clear, yeah. You're selling, you're in marketing. Why do I book your place and not the 300 plus?
Copywriting is so important.
Yeah.
Copywriting is so important. And
But
most sellers don't have that experience. So I mean, that's where the value comes in. If you can, as a host, you can deliver that. I mean, you're going to increase your occupancy.
But it's a different type of copywriting, because my style is different. There's copywriters out there, short-term rental, vacation rental copywriters out there, and they write these very flowery prose. Imagine waking up in this, luxurious bed with the great vistas.
To change to that, what would you do?
So I do is I do the amenities. So is it a memory foam mattress? Do you provide Netflix? Do you have a chef's kitchen? Do you have a rooftop balcony like this? Do you have a sauna like you do, or whatever you have? Do you have a jet? So all the amenities, I'll say. You have a king bed. That's an amenity.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's what the benefit is to them.
Get them excited. Why do they want to book your place and not the other place?
Cool. All right. So obviously, it's not just all cash flow and all income. You have expenses when you're starting an Airbnb rental business. So what are some of the common expenses when someone's getting started and throughout the process?
The biggest, the guest pays for the cleaning fee, but you have to, some hosts eat some of the cleaning fee depending on how much it costs. You're going to have to replace consumables, toilet paper, and also if you want to be a really good host, I suggest you get, a lot of hosts just provide like toilet paper, but I suggest you provide toilet paper, salt and pepper, some detergent if you have a washer, shampoo.
Like those little things really matter. Like
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've arrived to Airbnb and without shampoo, it's like I have to go to the pharmacy. It's like it's a hassle. But when all those things are just done and the peace of mind, the guests really remember that, and you're more likely to get a 5-star review, right?
Yep. And also like nice towels. Like
Yes.
Because a guest uses a towel every day. It's usually the thing that they use just before checkout. So if they remember this like extra soft towel. Other costs could be you could do insurance. Airbnb has their own insurance, but not all platforms have their own insurance. You could opt for some additional insurance. And then there's costs to automate your business. If you want to connect to a smart pricing tool, there's a monthly cost to that. If you want to create a digital guidebook, which increases the guest experience, decreases the host's time involvement, I would say that's a good investment. Automating your messages costs money.
And that's actually one thing I want to talk about, because we promised here in the intro that that you're an Airbnb expert and you've been able to automate not only your Airbnb business but also countless other sellers, which Danny can help you. If you guys are need help with Airbnb, this is the man to talk to. But this isn't a pitch for his services, but he is the foremost expert on Airbnb that I know, so I wanted to get him here for the show. But so what is one tool that somebody can implement to automate and make their lives 10 times easier, travel the world and do cool things like you?
Yeah, number one is something that's barely ever utilized. It's called a digital guidebook. And what it does is it's very nicely laid out, and it lets the guests, instead of a lot of hosts send these giant check-in messages
or a physical paper when they arrive,
or the physical paper, which is okay, but still digital is better because you can update it more real time. And it's just better laid out. So check-in here, local recommendations.
This is on a Google Doc, or how is it presented?
It depends what company you use. I use a company called Hostfully, and it's like a optimized website. So you don't have to download, the positive is you don't have to download another application.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it's just really well laid out. And when the guests come, they have questions. And if you have all those common questions in your guidebook, then the guests can go there first. And if you have a weird TV with 3 remotes, well, put that in your guidebook. If you have a crazy coffee maker, put that in your guidebook. And then the guest doesn't have to reach out to you, number one, and they don't have to wait for your response. So that's it decreases your time investment and it increases their experience.
Awesome. That's a great tip. And I really rarely see that. I mean, the paper, when we first check in, I see that. Digital checkbook, that's genius, because it really does help automate and cut a lot of that unneeded going back and forth.
Yeah. I've stayed, I passed 800 nights in Airbnbs. Wow. I've stayed in countless Airbnbs. Not once have I ever received a digital guidebook. Sometimes a physical guidebook, but never once a digital guidebook.
Yeah, obviously haven't read your book, which you guys can pick up on Amazon as well, Optimize My Airbnb. But Danny, I really do appreciate you coming to share your knowledge. I hope you guys got good value out of that. And if you need any help with Airbnb or the short-term rental business in general, because Airbnb is not the only one, let's be honest, but it is the main one. You reach out to Danny. Go ahead and leave your comments, questions in the comments below, and Danny and I will do our best to answer them. And until the next show, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.